Have you ever wondered what it's like to live in a place completely cut off from the rest of the world? North Korea. The most isolated, secretive, and terrifying country on planet Earth. A place where 26 million people live under total government control. Where families are executed for watching foreign movies. Where children are taught that their leader is a god. This isn't ancient history. This is happening right now in 2026. Behind these fences, under constant surveillance, an entire nation lives in darkness. But how did this happen? How did a small country become a nuclear-armed prison state? Why does the world allow it to continue? And what's life actually like for the people trapped inside? By the end of this video, you'll understand the full story of North Korea's isolation. And I promise, it's more disturbing than you think. Because North Korea isn't just isolated. It's armed with nuclear weapons. It threatens world peace, and it's getting more dangerous every year. Let's start from the beginning. To understand North Korea today, we have to go back to 1950. World War II had just ended, and Korea was divided between Soviet and American occupation. On June 25, 1950, North Korean forces invaded South Korea. It was a massive surprise attack that started one of the deadliest wars of the 20th century. The Korean War lasted 3 years and killed over 3 million people. In 1953, an armistice was signed. The fighting stopped, but the war never officially ended. Korea remained divided at the 38th parallel, where it still is today. North Korea and South Korea exist in a permanent state of war. After the war, Kim Il-sung began building something the world had never seen. Not just a communist dictatorship, but a totalitarian state where he was worshipped as a living god. He created an ideology called Juche, meaning self-reliance. North Korea would depend on no one. In reality, North Korea depended heavily on the Soviet Union for economic support. But Kim Il-sung used Juche as justification for cutting his country off from the world. No foreign influence. Complete isolation. Total control. After the war, Kim Il-sung began building something the world had never seen. Not just a communist dictatorship, but a totalitarian state where he was worshipped as a living god. He created an ideology called Juche, meaning North Korea would depend on no one. In reality, North Korea depended heavily on the Soviet Union for economic support, but Kim Il-sung used Juche as justification for cutting his country off from the world. No foreign influence. Complete isolation. Total control. Kim Il-sung controlled everything. What people wore, what they read, what they thought. He built massive monuments to himself in every city. He rewrote history to make himself the hero of every story. And he built the 4th largest military in the world. When Kim Il-sung died in 1994, his son, Kim Jong Un, took power. This was unprecedented, the world's first communist monarchy. But Kim Jong-il's rise coincided with catastrophe. The Soviet Union had collapsed, cutting off economic support. Then came natural disasters. Between 1994 and 1998, an estimated 2 to 3 million North Koreans starved to death. That's 10% of the population. While people were dying of hunger, Kim Jong-il spent billions developing nuclear weapons and ballistic missiles. He tightened government control. He expanded the surveillance state, and he created the Songbun system, a social class structure that determines every aspect of North Korean life. There are an estimated 120,000 people in political prison camps right now. Entire families are imprisoned for one member's alleged crime. The regime believes in guilt by association for 3 generations. If you commit a political offense, your parents, children, and grandchildren all go to camps. Your songbun, your social class, determines everything. Where you can live, what job you can have, how much food you receive. If your grandfather was accused of disloyalty 70 years ago, you're still being punished today. This is how the regime maintains control across generations. Kim Jong-il died in 2011, and his son Kim Jong-un took power at just 27 years old. Many hoped he would reform the system. He had been educated in Switzerland, had seen the outside world. Instead, he executed senior officials to consolidate power and accelerated the nuclear program. After North Korea conducted nuclear tests, the UN imposed some of the harshest sanctions in history. They can't trade freely, can't access international banking, can't import most goods. The sanctions were designed to pressure the regime to give up nuclear weapons. But sanctions haven't worked. Look at this satellite image. North Korea at night is almost completely dark, except for Pyongyang. The country has virtually no electricity. The economy has collapsed, yet the regime survives and continues developing weapons. Why? Because the regime chooses isolation as a tool of control. If North Koreans knew how people in South Korea live, the government would collapse overnight. So they built the most extreme information control system in history. Getting caught with a USB drive of foreign shows can get you executed. There is virtually no internet in North Korea. Every street has surveillance cameras. Neighborhood committees monitor every family. Radios are sealed to government channels. Televisions only show state propaganda. There is no privacy. The government sees everything. Survivors who escaped the prison camps describe conditions that are unimaginable. Prisoners work 12 to 16 hours a day in mines and farms. They receive starvation-level food. Many die within years from exhaustion or beatings. There are reports of torture, public executions, and medical experiments. Thousands of families have been torn apart by this border. Parents separated from children. Siblings who haven't seen each other in 70 years. The regime forbids any contact with the outside world. Defecting is treason, punishable by death. Now, let's talk about why North Korea's isolation is dangerous for the world. Nuclear weapons. North Korea has conducted at least 6 nuclear tests and has an estimated 30 to 60 warheads. That's enough to destroy multiple cities. More concerning, they've developed missiles that can reach the United States. In 2017, they tested an intercontinental ballistic missile that could potentially hit Los Angeles or Chicago. They've threatened to turn Seoul into a sea of fire. Look at this range. North Korean missiles can now reach the entire continental United States. A country that can barely feed its people has developed one of the world's most advanced missile programs. This is the result of decades of isolation and militarization. Why does the world tolerate this? Because there are no good options. Negotiations haven't worked. Trump met with Kim Jong Un 3 times. Historic summits. Lots of photos. Zero progress. North Korea took aid and kept developing weapons. And here's the complicated part. China. China is North Korea's only real ally and economic lifeline. They provide food, fuel, and trade. Why? Because China doesn't want North Korea to collapse. If the regime falls, millions of refugees would flood into China. So what's life actually like for ordinary North Koreans? Imagine waking up every day to government loudspeakers blasting propaganda. You can't choose your job, where to live, or who to marry without government approval. You earned maybe $2 a month. Children are taught to worship the Kim family from birth. They learn that Kim Il-sung created the Korean alphabet, that he was born under a double rainbow on a sacred mountain. None of this is true, but questioning it is treason. Indoctrination starts in kindergarten. Most of North Korea goes dark at night. There's no reliable electricity outside. Food is rationed and scarce. You can't travel between cities without permission. You definitely can't leave the country. That's treason, punishable by execution or labor camps, but still, thousands risk death trying to escape. They flee north into China, then through Southeast Asia, trying to reach South Korea. If caught, they're sent back to face torture or execution. Try anyway, because anything is better than living in the world's largest prison. Today, North Korea remains frozen in time. 26 million people trapped in complete isolation. No freedom, no rights, no contact with the outside world. The Kim dynasty has lasted 3 generations and shows no signs of weakening. The regime survives because it's willing to let its people starve to maintain power, because it has nuclear weapons that make regime change too risky, and because China keeps it on life support. There's no end in sight. Will North Korea ever open up? Will the regime ever fall? Or will this isolation continue forever? What do you think will happen? Comment below. And if you want to understand more of the world's most complex conflicts, subscribe. I explain a new one every single day. Thanks for watching.